The last person to see Rebecca Anthon alive was Ellen Morrison, and for weeks afterward, she would replay those final moments in her mind thousands of times before sleep came easily. It was a rainy Tuesday night in March 2023. Storms battered the tall windows of Dover Municipal Library with that particular ferocity only early spring could summon. Rebecca was shelving returned books in the history section, her movements deliberate, precise. 14 years of repetition manifesting as instinct. Ellen recalls calling out good night at exactly 8:32 p.m., and seeing Rebecca turn with a small, weary smile, the kind someone wears when they are ready to leave work behind and slip into the comfort of routine. Ellen noticed she seemed thinner than usual and briefly wondered if everything was all right at home with her husband, Graham. But she didn't ask. In a small New Hampshire town, you notice things and say nothing. If you're watching this from Dover, or if you've ever felt that cold knot of worry when someone doesn't come home, drop a comment and tell us where you're tuning in from. Stories like this need witnesses. Security footage from the library shows Rebecca locking the heavy oak doors at 8:47 p.m. Her blue raincoat soaked, her canvas work bag over one shoulder. The grainy footage still captures her pausing under the awning, looking at the parking lot, where her silver 2019 Honda Civic waited under the sodium lights. She takes a breath, then steps into the rain and disappears from view. That's where the digital record ends. The camera doesn't cover the lot. What happened in the few minutes between the library and her car became the void that swallowed Rebecca Thornton whole. When Graham Thornton woke at 6:15 a.m. the next morning, his wife's side of the bed was untouched, still made with the precision she always maintained. At first, he didn't panic. Rebecca sometimes stayed late at her mother's or lost track of time during weekly dinners. But her phone went straight to voicemail and her mother, Patricia Thornton, confirmed she hadn't seen Rebecca since Sunday. By then, the panic was sharp, physical. Like ice filling his chest, Graham would later tell Detective Carl Henderson. The Dover police received the missing person report at 7 a.m. Officer Marjorie Phillips, who knew Rebecca from book club, took the call personally. By 8:30 a.m., they had located her Honda, parked and locked in the library lot, her belongings neatly inside. There was no blood, no sign of struggle, no note. Just a car waiting, as if she intended to return but never did. Detective Henderson arrived at 9:45 a.m. The veteran of 28 years, trained to hide nothing yet record everything mentally, measured the distance from the library door to the car, 48 feet, 12 seconds at her usual pace. Somewhere along that short walk, Rebecca vanished. The search began before noon, with Dover police mobilizing every officer, Chief Thomas Bradford calling in neighboring departments, and volunteer firefighters arriving in high-visibility vests. K-9 units, trained in cadaver detection, were brought in, tracking from a sweater imbued with her perfume. But the dogs lost the scent about 60 feet from the car, the trail ending abruptly. Vehicle involvement seemed likely, but rain had washed away any microscopic evidence. By Thursday, over 200 volunteers were searching downtown and into the wooded outskirts, calling her name until voices went hoarse. The state police helicopter flew overhead, thermal imaging scanning for heat signatures, but they found nothing. Graham Thornton moved tirelessly alongside the search teams, distributing flyers with Rebecca's photo, while Patricia Thornton organized volunteers and maintained the search's momentum. Detective Maya Sullivan interviewed Ellen Morrison in detail, reconstructing Tuesday evening minute by minute. Ellen described Rebecca's mood as normal, perhaps distracted, but nothing alarming. The investigation took a new turn on Friday when phone records revealed Rebecca had been living a secret life. She had a profile on a discreet dating app for extramarital connections, communicating with 7 men over 6 months. 3 of these men had met her in person, becoming immediate persons of interest. Travis Coldwell, Marcus Chen, and Derek Vaughn were investigated thoroughly. Coldwell and Chun were cooperative with verifiable alibis. Vaughn, however, was defensive. His alibi was weak, his answers clipped, and phone records showed multiple short calls to Rebecca on the night she disappeared. Calls suggesting an attempted meeting. By June, the investigation had slowed. Leads exhausted themselves, and the case file had grown to over 400 pages. Active searches gave way to targeted follow-ups, but nothing definitive surfaced. Dover police, facing budget constraints, reduced the investigation team. Derek Vaughn remained the primary suspect, though evidence was circumstantial. Graham Thornton, living in a limbo of hope and despair, maintained the missing person pages, responding to tips that went nowhere. Patricia Thornton organized monthly vigils in the library lot to keep public attention on Rebecca's case. Detective Henderson continued his tireless work, keeping a photograph of Rebecca on his desk as a reminder of the promise he made to her family, to pursue answers until he could find them. The forest was quiet, but the scene it revealed was anything but. Due to the local conditions of moisture and temperature, the scattered bones suggested months of animal activity, scavengers disturbing the site. Yet, despite this, enough remained to confirm the unthinkable. The remains were human. Clothing had survived better than flesh. A blue raincoat, torn and stained, lay over the remnants of a once white blouse and black pants. Kyle Hutchins, one of the hunters who discovered the site, stepped back slowly, fumbling for his phone, only to find there was no signal. The brothers ran back to their truck, driving until reception returned, and called 911. By 3:30 p.m., Detective Carl Henderson arrived with Detective Maya Sullivan and a forensic team from the State Police Major Crime Unit. The site was cordoned off with yellow tape strung between the trees, a flimsy boundary for what it concealed. Dr. Lawrence Chen, the medical examiner, crouched beside the remains, moving with the careful reverence of a professional who knows both the science and the gravity of the scene. Henderson stood at the edge of the hollow, chest tightening as the reality set in. This was Rebecca Thornton. The blue raincoat matched the footage from the library, and the location, 12 miles from the library, was deep in the woods, far from casual hikers, but accessible to anyone who knew the old logging roads. Recovery took 7 grueling hours, continuing into darkness with portable lights casting harsh shadows through the trees. Every fragment, bone, clothing, clump of soil, was photographed, documented, bagged, and labeled. Dr. Chan worked with meticulous precision, his gloved hands treating the remains almost ceremonially. He noted that the body appeared to have been placed rather than buried, covered with leaves and branches but not interred in the soil. There were signs of dragging on the clothing, suggesting the body had been moved after death. Most strikingly, fibers embedded in the raincoat, brown synthetic carpet fibers, hinted at contact with a vehicle. Detective Sullivan circled the perimeter in expanding sweeps, searching for anything overlooked. About 50 yards from the main site, she found disturbed vegetation, broken branches, flattened underbrush, suggesting a vehicle had been parked there months earlier. Soil samples and tire impression casts were taken, the faint tracks degraded by rain and snow, but potentially useful in identifying a vehicle make and model. Standing there, Sullivan tried to reconstruct the scene. Someone strong, familiar with these woods, carrying or dragging Rebecca through the partly frozen ground in '67.